Welcome on in, Dolphins. Tobin here with you. Preseason game number 1 in the books. Miami Dolphins victorious 20-13 over the Atlanta Falcons. Barely. Got a little dicey there at the end. It looked like, but he almost had a toe down, an extra toe down. Thankfully, Dolphins were scrambling like it was offense coming off, but thankfully, all I was hoping for was to be over, because as I was thoroughly entertained by the first half of that football game, really good for a preseason game. And I think we have a lot of things to be excited about, especially with the rookies. That second half was a flaming turd. It was so bad, and it just felt like it was crawling. I mean, I guess it did crawl. What are we talking about? A 7 o'clock kickoff. I'm recording now at 10:40, so long day today, man. Long day, a lot of radio being hosted, but the pregame show is back, so it's happy to be back. Dolphins football is back. We're back, baby. We are back. So, yeah, let's get to the good first. Good was first half of this football game was fun, a fun back and forth. You had a lot of craziness. You had some wild-ass turnovers. You had the score bouncing back and forth like crazy. You had Mike McDaniel and Raheem Morris getting mad at each other as friends. Fun mad at each other over reviews. It was a great time. You got, this drive start. The game starts off, and I think the first thing we notice is Ethan Bonner going stride for stride. I mean, the dude is playing just like he was in training camp, and this was a lot of bodies out today. We got off the air on the pregame show. I was a little disappointed because there weren't many surprises, but the one thing that was a little surprising, mind you, I'm doing this. I'm not waiting through Mike McDaniel's press conference. That's for tomorrow. We'll go on the coaches' comments and all that, but Chop Robinson didn't play, and that was a little bit surprising, and I didn't know if that had really solidified him or if this is just, we can't really afford to lose pass rushers of his talent, so we're just not going to play him. I would tend to believe that's probably the direction they're going to go. That's the way that they went, but Bonner looked good in the start. Malik Washington, who had a very, very interesting game today. Dicey first punt return where he kind of muffs the punt, and you're like, oof, all right. That's a little bit that was a little bit scary there. So Dolphins' first drive doesn't really go anywhere. You get a nice play by River Craycraft, and then two things. The next play, the Falcons get the ball, and you have a great play by Siren Neal and Duke Riley. Get it on a hit, jar the ball loose. Nice strip by Neal. He recovers it. Straight nose for the football. Beautiful job by him. Finns get the ball back. Keon Smith, who was in at right guard today, left guard, excuse me, he hurts his knee, and this was a lot of guys getting banged up today. I don't know how much the field conditions had to do with it, but that field looked awful today. It looked really, really bad. Somebody on my Twitter commented, they said it looked like a bunch of prairie dogs. Looked like they had burrowed underneath Hard Rock Stadium. It's true. And I know that we're at a crazy time of South Florida weather right now, but they got to call up the grass farm and get that fixed, dude. That was really annoying. And then CBS's audio tonight, really annoying. And so much so because I watch on an antenna for the local, and it usually comes in crystal clear. And I was just like, is that the antenna? And like, I was getting texts. I saw the tweets. I was like, okay, no, everybody appears to be dealing with the audio issues that were going on with CBS. It was really annoying because it sounded basically like buffering, but it was just audio issues, and that's a pet peeve of mine. Anyway, Keon Smith gets hurt, walks off under his own power. Jason Sanders, he powers through a 58-yard field goal. Big old boot from him. But Dolphins go up 3-0. Ethan Bonner, the next possession, Falcons have the ball. This is about the only play that he got cooked. Michael Penix Jr., deep play for Blair. They get into the scoring range. But you get a nice play from Quentin Bell, who put some pressure on, so they got to settle for the field goal. And then Skylar Thompson, this is probably going to be one of the big storylines we'll dive into here in a second, is the backup quarterback play, because this was QB2, QB3. Skylar Thompson got the start tonight. He threw a pretty gnarly interception trying to get it to Malik Washington. Thankfully, next drive, great plays by Patrick McMorris. He looked really, really good today. This guy was probably your first outstanding rookie of the day. McMorris was everywhere. I think he ended up leading the team in tackles. Let me see if I get this up here right now. Yeah, he was tied with Curtis Bolton, but he had the most solo tackles at 7. Tied with the most on the team with 8. Channing Tindall had 6 solo tackles, so great day for the former third-round pick. But Patrick McMorris was everywhere. Tackles for loss, had a pass deflection. That he was, the first rookie to really stand out on this day, and that was fantastic news. That being said, the Falcons did get a short rushing touchdown. They were able to go for it on 4th down. And then so they take their first and only lead of the game. They go up 10-3. Dolphins on their 4th drive. Skylar Thompson finds Tanner Connor for a couple plays, one of them for a big chunk 43-yarder. And then that sets the Dolphins up for a couple of passing plays. Little dump off to Jeff Wilson, who got into the action early. And then he would get in there for a TD grab. And that would tie things up at 10 apiece. Nick Needham, he highlighted the next drive. He had a big breakup on 3rd down. So the vet, who, just had a tremendous play, did not exactly have a vet play at the end of this game. And then you would have what was put together, I think, probably as the Dolphins' best drive, even though it didn't end in a score. But they end up going reverse to Malik Washington, which ended up being, how many yards was that on the run? That was 21 yards from Malik Washington, who, again, kind of did everything today. He was fantastic, getting gnarly in on the blocks. Guy's a dog. This is another thing. You had the great game by Patrick McMorris. We gave you the numbers on him. Malik Washington, he goes out there and he gives you a little bit in the blocking game, a little bit in the run game. Didn't give you too much in the receiving game. He only had 1 catch for 5 yards on 4 targets. But, again, the quarterbacks were... they were nothing to write home about today. But this was a really sick drive because you had Malik Washington on the reverse. Then you had Jalen Wright get into his first action. He comes in for Jeff Wilson after Jeff Wilson scores his touchdown. And Jalen Wright, wow. I think everybody realizes why they traded back in to go get this guy. Physical, fast, just chunk plays every time it seems like he touched the football. Had back-to-back first down runs. And the meanwhile, Patrick Paul, calling Patrick Paul, Patrick the Wall, Patrick the Maul, because he's out there mauling dudes. He was laying the boom on these blocks with this giant-ass Power Ranger mask. Christian Wilkins has to be jealous of that thing. He was looking fantastic. I mean, there were some matchups that looked pretty hysterical because this guy is 6'8", 300, and he's got linebackers stuck in his belly button. It was hilarious. That being said, the drive stifles. Skylar went for a run on 4th down, and this was something that took me by surprise. I didn't know that I thought there was word of getting rid of the chain gang. I didn't know that it was official this year. So they go to this virtual measurement. It says he makes it, and then Raheem Morris challenges it. Mike McDaniel's furious. He's going to the watch hey, don't we have anywhere to go? Which is, by the way, the more appropriate answer. Do we really need to challenge this? Apparently so. And it's overturned. They rule that Skylar Thompson stepped out of bounds. Falcons get the ball. Only to the next play, Taylor Heineke comes in for Michael Penix. They botch the snap. Isaiah Mack gets the ball. Straight nose for the football. Finns get it back. And then Jalen Wright next play scores a touchdown. Dolphins go up 17-10, and they really wouldn't look back. As the Dolphins get the ball back, the next drive, you get some great coverage from Storm Duck. He was quacktastic today. Storm Duck showed out for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, really, between Storm Duck, Patrick Paul, Jalen Wright, Malik Washington, McMorris, the rookies were the story of the day today. bar none, 100% were the story of today. It was great to see. And, there were some other great little things, like Ethan Bonner definitely showed why he has been getting the praise that he has. Channing Tindall today, nice performance from him, at a beautiful sack that was put forth by Anthony Weaver. The bob and weave defense, definitely see the delights of it. And I will say, the dude, Anthony Weaver, has a coaching presence about him, dude. But not only that, it's not only that he's got, the hulked up look with the dry fit, but then he has the towel, which makes him look more commanding. But the thing that I like about it is that Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver on the sidelines together, and you can see the communication happening with the guys having a relationship. And you think about last year where you have Fangio up in the box, right? Then you could think about back a couple of years ago with Boyer, where Mike McDaniel's basically, hey, bro, get it bleeping fixed. I just think right off the bat, you felt like him and Anthony Weaver, it just looked like chemistry right off the bat. I realize it's a preseason game. The stakes are not very high, but it was noticeable. So anyway, that was the end of the first half. Dolphins go in. They lead 17-10. Mike White comes in at QB. They go 3 and out. That was going to be a big theme of the second half. Second half really, really stunk. Not very exciting, except for the play of the game, which was a 3rd and 9 swing pass to Jalen Wright, and kind of bobbles it. I don't know if it was really, it was on the throw, or they weren't great with the replays today, but it was either on the throw or it was on the hands, but whatever. He bobbles it, reverses, looks like he's going to be just complete. This play is going to be completely blown up. He reverses field completely all the way down and runs for the first down. It was so sick. Jalen Wright today just showed every little piece of his game. 10 carries, 55 yards for that, on top of the fact that, you had just him being awesome. Every time he touched the football, it felt like it was going for 5-6 yards. Gets the touchdown today. Just a great debut in every single way for him. So, I mean, man, very, very impressive. Very impressive. Play of the game. And that ended with a that was, what did that go for? The Jalen Wright up the middle. Yeah, they ended up going for 14 yards. Sick. And that drive ended with you get a couple runs from Chris Brooks, who, was running his physical self today, and ends with a Jason Sanders field goal, puts the Dolphins up a touchdown. So they ended up responding. That they went blow for blow, field goal for field goal with the Falcons. And yeah, then we just had a whole heap of crap. It was just it was a brutal drives. You had Storm Duck do some nice things. Mike White getting nearly picked off. Patrick Morris, had some breakups in there to kind of add on to a great day. The broadcast had a couple of funny things. Kim Bokamper had a great quote on Mike McDaniel, which just said, sometimes you have to go through the bushes to find the acorns, just referring to Mike McDaniel speaking, and he couldn't be more spot on about that. And then Calais Campbell did an interview with Zach Sealer, and he was basically saying he's told Zach Sealer it's your time and that he's a natural-born leader. So that was pretty goosies. Jaquan Burton, FAU receiver, took a big hit. He looked pretty busted up. Tanner Connor also got hurt in one of these plays. A lot of guys got banged up today, man. A lot of guys got banged up on a rough-looking field. And then as the game closed out, there were 2 big stands by the defense late. So Dolphins look like they're going to get a stop. Falcons punt. It ends up hitting Nick Needham. Bounces off of him. Falcons recover, so they're in great scoring territory. Goes to the red zone. You get a huge coverage play by Storm Duck, but the biggest play of this was most likely the Leonard Payne big tackle for loss. Storm Duck ends up getting Rourke, their QB, out a little bit short, and then he ends up throwing it incomplete. So That was a great stand by Anthony Weaver's defense. Dolphins get the ball back with less than 5 minutes left. Mike White, he ends up running for it, but he slides too early, which, kind of completed a crap day for him. They tried to measure it. Then Mike McDaniel tried to get the get back on the challenge. Did not work. So that stood. They punt back to the Falcons. Rourke has a huge run on 4th down that takes him down to the 2-minute warning. And they end up having a 4th down. They go for it with a minute left. And nearly their receiver gets his toes down. But they looked at it. Incomplete. Dolphins get the win. They run this puppy out. And that's all she wrote. That is the win for your Miami Dolphins. Yeah, man. We saw the new kickoff in action. That was kind of cool. I dug it. Got to see that going. No more chain gang upset me. Not happy about that. But yeah, by far today, the story was the rookies. The rookies balled out, and that's without even your 2 pass rushing rookies. You saw a lot of guys flourish today. That was great news. And it's I'm getting some notes here. Let's see. As I do this, we got some tweets coming up here. Mike McDaniel. Here's some news. This is from Barry Jackson. Mike McDaniel says starting center Aaron Brewer is week to week, but they feel good about where he's going. Doesn't feel good. And Chop Robinson was dealing with a minor injury, so that's why he did not go. And again, they can't really afford to lose him. So kind of goes to the original point as well. It was cool to see Odell Beckham Jr. out there. That was pretty awesome to see him out with Mike McDaniel and Tua. You have not really seen a lot of Odell, so it was good to see him with the team. But overall, yeah, I mean, to get that kind of performance by your young guys, it was a really entertaining first half of football, back and forth. A lot of weird plays, big plays, clutch plays by the young guys. The injuries are bothersome. I think Tanner Connor is probably the one you're worried the most about because he had a really great performance. This was kind of his tight end showcase because everybody else was out. Jonnu Smith was out. Julian Hill was out. Durham Smythe. So I don't know what that says about Tanner Connor's chances of making the roster, but he had a good performance if he was going to try and show that, hey, he's still this skilled receiver who's going to stick in that tight end room if he's able to hold through. But to see Jalen Wright be as good as advertised, McMorris, who I feel like it's been a kind of a quiet training camp story with him. So I think he opened a lot of eyes to people. Patrick Paul, that he is, on this trajectory to be redshirted this year, but he's a freaking giant. So that's exciting. And then, you see just the value of Malik Washington being the Swiss Army knife that he is. So, and then Storm Duck was not invisible. He definitely flashed on big plays this week too. So just the rookies. That was by far the big story of this one, and a nice showing by them. Dolphins obviously have some things they got to battle through. And then as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, yeah, they weren't good. They weren't good today. Skyler was way more tolerable than Mike White was. Understood they are playing with the backups and they're playing with, young receivers or fringe guys that already were dealing with a thin deck as it was. But I get the concerns. I get the concerns for sure. This is a quote unquote neck and neck battle. And I don't think anybody made themselves the draft today, dude. Like, I don't think anybody stuck it out and took a big lead. And I think Skyler, the only reason I think he was more productive is, quite frankly, he had the better players. And I think if you ask more Dolphins fans, they probably trust Skyler a little bit more. But you guys see what the operation is of the passing game when it's not QB1. It's a lot different. It's a lot different. And you saw some good things from the line today, especially from the run game. But the QBs, yikes. They were not all on them, but they did not really what's the best way to put this? They were not able to rise over their elements today. So don't think it gave anybody a whole load of confidence with that. But all in all, you get a showing like that from your rookie class on the first preseason game. You get a nice little Winsky. Fun night. Fun first half. Not a fun night. Fun first half. Sprinkle in that Jalen Wright play in the second half. Fourth quarter was awful. But football's back.